Hey people, a video that I've been meaning to do for a while, and given that Doctor Who Series 2 came out 20 years from the time of recording, the celebration of the 20th anniversary for that season, as well as the 20th anniversary of me becoming a Whovian. So I'm going to tell you how I became a Whovian and the whole journey of it, which is no earlier than 2005. As we all know, Doctor Who relaunched in 2005 by Russell T Davies and starring Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper as the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler. And I was 6 years old at the time, and I must admit, I didn't watch any of the episodes in the first series at the time it came out. As I recall, when I was in year one, I've never heard of it, not even familiar with it at the time. Before then, I was more into Spider-Man, The Simpsons, and also any programs from the CBeebies because of the age I was at the time. But my mum and my stepdad did watch it when it came back, because my mum's first Doctor was Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, as she was a kid in the 80s. Both her and my stepdad, Stewie, remembered watching Sylvester McCoy, the 7th Doctor, in Survival. They remembered the bit where Ace's eyes colour changed as she was turning into those cheetah people. Plus also my dad remembered watching Peter Davidson and Sylvester McCoy. Anyway, that's their story. Let's talk about my story then. My first memory of the show was, I did vaguely remembered Slitheen crashing into Big Ben from Aliens of London. I think I might have been 6 years old at the time. And according to my mum, apparently I wouldn't sit still on the sofa. So, yeah. But that took me until at least after September, when I was moved into year 2. One day, my mum called me downstairs, so I went downstairs, and she told me about a show called Doctor Who, and she describes it as, well, exactly how you describe what Monsters of the Week is, because I loved stuff about monsters as a kid, including Jurassic Park, which I also forgot to mention. Because me and my friend used to, back in first school, we used to pretend to run away from dinosaurs on the playground, reenacting scenes from Jurassic Park 3. Those were the days. So she told me about that, and apparently the Doctor is not human, so I was very intrigued by that idea. So then I sat down on the sofa, and the episode that came on was Father's Day. That was the first episode that I've watched, as it was on repeat on BBC Three channel. I did remember BBC Three wasn't available through the day, but that was only until tea time. So then the first thing that came on BBC Three was the 60-second news that I remember. Does anyone remember this?
Hi, I'm Susanna. The Doctor's here in a mo, but first some news from me.
And then after that, Doctor Who Father's Day came on, and I remembered the bit where Jackie and Peter Tyler were arguing over stuff, and that at the time it just reminded me something like EastEnders that my mum used to watch, and I was like, it didn't put me off because obviously I trusted my mum's word, and I did remember the eyes looking at the Doctor, and I remembered the Reapers first appearing because Mum told me there was monsters in there. I was like, I thought they were terrifying and very exciting at the same time. And yeah, it was an absolute banger. So then after the episode ended, I found myself falling in love with it. And I must confess, I think I was coming up 7, and I must have looked away when the Next Time thing text came on. But when the Empty Child trailer came out, I actually thought that was a post-credit scene. I was just like, oh, interesting. So then the next episode I watched was The Empty Child. I was like, oh, I thought that was... But anyway, I didn't complain, and I just ended up watching it, and my God, I remember how terrifying watching this as a kid. After when Nancy brought the kids in, and so they can have their dinner that she nicked, and the Doctor joined in, and then Jamie, the Empty Child, was there, and I remembered how terrifying that silhouette outside the door looked, and I was like, uh-oh. And also, at the same time, feeling sorry for a kid, because I thought, the kid is just trying to look for his mum. Why isn't his mum being like, yes, what is it? Something like that. But then I watched two-parter, and also loved Captain Jack, and I think I must have missed Boomtown, because I have no memory of the Slitheen until when Series 1 was on repeat again. So, skipping Boomtown, the next episode I watched was Bad Wolf, and Mum told me that they have robots in it, and I thought, ooh, I love scary robots. And I remembered the weakest link scene, that android. I actually thought that was a robot that Mum was talking about, and I actually thought she was terrifying the way the android looked and frying up the contestants who are considered the weakest link. Plus, definitely cool that she's voiced by Anne Robinson. So yeah, I thought she was the main monster of the episode. But then the Daleks showed up, and I was like, oh, so that's who you mean. And the way they kill people in the Parting of the Ways, I thought terrifying and exciting and awesome at the same time. And I was absolutely in love with it, and I thought, yeah, I really want to stay away from them because they look so dangerous. And then Mum was saying, oh, apparently the Doctor's going to change his head. And I'm like, wait, what? And that's when I've learned about the regeneration. And the first regeneration, obviously, I saw was Christopher Eccleston into David Tennant. And for some bizarre reason, when I was a kid, I used to compare that to Shrek, when Olga turning to human and human turning back to Olga for some bizarre reason, I don't know why. And then Christmas Day 2005, me, my mum, my stepdad played on Shrek 2, and then after we had Christmas dinner, we watched Christmas Invasion, and I think that was the first episode that I watched on live. And I remembered at the time being like, not sure about him. Can we just have the Doctor back, please? Referring to Chris Eccleston. Coming into Series 2, The New Earth came out. And the bit where Cassandra possessed Rose, because I sort of not understand it at the time, when Cassandra possessed Rose was like, we need the Doctor. I actually thought she was telling David Tennant's Doctor, yep, can you bring back Christopher Eccleston, please? And I remember that was pretty interesting that they outrun the infected people. And then there was Doctor Who Confidential coming out, which I sort of watched, but then I just didn't understand it. So I thought, nah. Admittedly, I was actually a bit young to understand the whole behind-the-scenes stuff, which is why I wasn't that interested at the time. But then, as I understand as time goes on, I was beginning to appreciate it, although I didn't watch much of the episodes because I didn't want to ruin the magic. So then, Tooth and Claw, Mum told me that there was a werewolf. I was like, ooh. And watching that episode, I was absolutely in love with it. And it had been my favourite episode since Parting of the Ways. I just love how intense it was and the idea of constantly running away from monsters. Love that sort of stuff. And then I thought, yeah, this episode's definitely my favourite. I remember how terrifying it is, and then I used to reenact those scenes at school playground because it was so good. School reunion, I thought the Krillitanes sort of remind me of the Reapers from Father's Day. And I was sort of confused about the Sarah Jane Smith bit. First time I saw Sarah Jane Smith was School Reunion, and I was just like, okay, so she knows the Doctor, but is there any episodes with her in that I might have missed? I mean, is there a Christopher Eccleston episode that she was in? Yeah, that sort of thing, because I was unfamiliar with the classic era at the time, and absolutely loved K9. I thought K9 was such a cool character. It was such a blast to watch firing laser Krillitanes. And then Clockwork Robots from Girl in the Fireplace, and I must confess, watching it as a kid, I had a crush on young Renette. Anyway, and I remembered finding it so scary with the shadow of the Clockwork Robot on the wall. But then, Rise of the Cybermen, The Age of Steel two-parter, so Mum told me they'll have robots again. I was like, ooh, because I actually thought she meant the Daleks have come back. So I was very excited that bit. When I had the first glimpse of the Cybermen, I actually don't remember the bit where Crane and the scientists were talking to each other, saying like, you know, get them ready. But I did remember when there was a stomp, the close-up on their feet as Ricky and Jake witnessed that. I thought, yeah, they look like they're going to be absolutely terrifying. And saw their heads and the blue light of their mouth turning on every time they speak. I was like, oh my god, they're so scary. And especially when they kill people in Pete Tyler and Jackie Tyler's mansion, I thought, this is exciting. And then I absolutely loved Cyber Controller, and yeah, I think it did become my favourite Doctor Who story of all time. Idiot's Lantern, which I thought definitely underrated. I thought it was terrifying, where the Doctor was inside the cage, surrounded by faceless people. And then the Ood two-part with the Beast, I thought it was scary as hell. And I must confess, when I first watched Love and Monsters, I did remember being sort of disappointed with it at the time because the Doctor was barely in it, and it was Elton who was the main character. But then it actually grew on me after a while, and then watching it again, and I find myself absolutely loving it, and to this day I absolutely love that episode. I thought it was a fun episode to watch. And then Fear Her, which I thought another underrated episode, and I'm actually surprised a lot of people hate it, because the bit where Chloe and her mum were locked inside the house and the devil of her dad going, "Chloe, I'm coming," I thought that was so intense. Very suspenseful. So then coming into the finale, I had those brochure things from Argos. I remembered seeing a Cybermen helmet and the figures there. And I've been told that the Cybermen were coming back, so I was excited. And then Army of Ghosts, when Freema Agyeman's character, before she was Mother, she was Adiola, opened the curtains and then the Cybermen came out. I was like, yes, they're back! So yeah, that got me excited. And then seeing them in action again. And then I was absolutely so blown away that the Daleks appeared at the end, and then Daleks versus Cybermen, I was just like, wow, what's not to like? Cyberman helmet that I've had since 2006, where you can press the button on because there's 3 buttons on that side. One of them, well, says it's lines. The other one, well, you can make the lights go on every time you speak. Like as though it's like you are a Cyberman, and the other one was the sound of electrocuting people to death. I would think, and sort of fits me though. Hang on, does this still work? Hello. Nah, the battery's dead. Yeah. I'm gonna take this off. Ow. Oh. God, that takes me back. Yeah, I'm just gonna give that back to that mannequin that my brother Alex gave it to me, because, well, it's his now. I was pretty devastated that Rose Tyler left, and after watching The Runaway Bride in Series 3, I was absolutely pretty upset that Rose is not back, and I thought the Doctor and Rose were like the sort of couple that they're meant to be together. But obviously I do love Donna and Martha, and episodes with them in as well, so after watching those episodes, that's when Doctor Who figures came around. And I did remember the first figure I got, was it Christmas 2006 or was it my birthday? It was around at that time, and I remembered the first figure I got was the TARDIS set, the 10th Doctor and Rose, the one she wore in New Earth, not the red coat from Series 1. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to my TARDIS set, but I do have these figures though. So yeah, the 10th Doctor and Rose, what she wore in New Earth. Just looking at them, it's just like, man, this takes me back when I was a little kid. Then I also got K9, and then the Slitheen, and Space Pig from Aliens of London. Whoa! Space Pig from Aliens of London. And also a Cyberman came as well, and I remembered seeing the commercial where a Cyberman was like knocking on the TARDIS door, and I reenact that scene because, well, why wouldn't you? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty something when I was a kid. And as a kid, if you pester your parents hard enough, you get the action figures. Around my birthday, I think it was my 8th birthday, well, oh no, it was my 9th birthday actually, the Cyber Controller came with the 2 Cybermen, and I even took it to the Gianni's. To those who don't know who Gianni's is, it's an Italian restaurant in Morpeth, the town in Northumberland, where I often celebrated my birthday there as a kid. They've done a fantastic food, which I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, and I remember taking I'm like, yeah, I'm taking this with me. Plus Christmas 2007, I then suddenly got more collection of Doctor Who action figures. There was too many to count if I list them all. And then I also remembered the Red Nose Day when I was in year 3, and there was like a white chocolate, and the Doctor Who characters came in them, which was pretty cool. I used to have the TARDIS money box, which I don't know what happened to it, and also the sonic screwdriver that I used to go around pretending to be the Doctor and just doing that. I even do it in the school playground, which I wasn't allowed to, and I had to put it in the drawer. And I was also given this, which, admittedly, I could not get into reading those types of books, like, with all this text, because I was more used to, like, sort of smaller paragraph with pictures on there, and I thought, Yeah, as a kid, those types of books are just so repetitive to read, and I thought they'd be boring. So, no, I didn't read it at the time I was given this, but I ended up leaving it on the shelf somewhere. But then how I started getting to reading those kinds of books was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So that got me into reading the book, and then also the Harry Potter as well. So then eventually, when I was in year 7, which there's the time I was coming up 12, I noticed Doctor Who books in there, so as soon as we're allowed to get up off the chair, I went straight away to those books section, and I had a look at them. And the first Doctor Who BBC book I read was Made of Steel. Well, the reason why I had to pick that because Cyberman, and I remembered reading the hell out of it and absolutely loved it. So then, coming up in my year 9, which I ended up turning 14 in that time, I finally gave in and started reading this. So then I read it. But unfortunately, because I was reading it for a couple of months, my teacher had to stop me reading it because I've been reading it for too long. Plus, I didn't even read it when I got home because I was too busy playing games and doing, well, whatever. Wasn't happy that I didn't get to finish it. But at least I can finish this when I'm in the flats, as there's no teachers to stop me. So coming back in the late 2000s, I remembered the Battle in Time cards. Those aren't the ones I had since my childhood. Those that I've just recently collecting because I heard they're bringing them back. Yeah, I remembered collecting these in the kids. It's always exciting whenever Silver Pack is because I love to see which characters that I've got. I did remember that I had Davros from, I think it was the Revelation of the Daleks that I had, and I remembered my stepdad telling me that they were bringing him back. I was like, oh. And then when he showed up in the Stolen Earth, and I thought, he looks a little bit different to what I've got on the card. I also remembered discovering Doctor Who top trumps and looking at all the characters and absolutely love them, especially this. That took me from 2008 all the way up to 2025, so 17 years to eventually get my hands on this. I was so excited when Rose Tyler came back. And I thought, finally, about time. And I remembered being upset when the Doctor was about to hug Rose as he finally reunited with her. Then the Dalek exterminated him and about to regenerate. But when he kept the same face, I was like, phew. And this was before my discovery of the classic era. I actually thought David Tennant was going to regenerate back into Christopher Eccleston at that point. And I absolutely love the ending when the Meta-Crisis Doctor is in parallel world with Rose, and I thought, well, at least she's got her Doctor, but I do miss her travelling with him. And also my discovery of the classic era. How I discovered them was, I may have already mentioned it in the past, I think it was late 2006. The first glimpse of it was a scene in The Mind of Evil, where John Pertwee is the third Doctor, and Joe Grant were playing the board game, and shushing the Master, which at the time was available in black and white. And I remembered my stepdad pointing at Pertwee and said, that's the Doctor, and I thought at the time that, yeah, he was just taking the mick or something. Plus I was 8 years old at the time, so... Because I was only more used to Chris, but mostly David Tennant. And then I remembered seeing a clip of Peter Cush in Doctor Who and the Daleks, and I remember being like, why does a Dalek have a metal hand? And then there was 3 Tom Baker episodes playing. First there was Robots Part 1, which I remembered him in pyjamas and putting his clothes, including long scarf on. Pyramids of Mars Part 2, where Sarah Jane was about to get strangled by the mummy. And the Android Invasion, where the Doctor was locked up while Sarah Jane was trying to set him free. They were watched by the Krail. And I'm not going to lie to you, I remembered watching this and thought... not being fond with it because it was just too different to the one I'm used to. And I looked at Tom Baker and thought, that's not the Doctor. Even David Tennant's Doctor wouldn't behave like this. Come on. And I used to think that it wasn't canon to the show. And I thought they were fan-made episodes that were somehow released on TV, which is bizarre. Even my mum told me that Sarah Jane Smith was in, and I was just like, yeah, that's not the Sarah Jane I imagined, because I was imagining her, what she looked like from School Reunion, to appear in it, but... oh dear. And then I used to do a Doctor Who show with my action figures, and when I brought in this Doctor, and then my mum was just like, hey, that's the 10th Doctor, and I was just being confused why she called him that. But at the same time I thought, I think she means the Tennant Doctor, because, you know, David Tennant, and 10 was short for Tennant. And then when I got the action figure of, I think it... what action figure? I think it was the Sigarax figure that I was given after when I was picked up from my friend from Berwick, because I was staying over for 2 nights. And I remember my mum gave me the action figure of Sigarax, and I looked at the back seeing other character collection, and I remember seeing Christopher Eccleston figure there saying the 9th Doctor, which at the time I thought it was pronounced the Ninth, and I was confused by the name. Like, why can they not just call him the Doctor? What's with the word Ninth? And straight away wanting to get that Doctor figure as well, and of course I did. And then before when Time Crash came on, my mum told me there was going to be 2 Doctors. I thought at the time there was going to be like 2 David Tennants, or if Christopher Eccleston comes back. When Peter Davidson as the 5th Doctor showed up, and I was just like, that's the Doctor? I was just so confused. So then the DVD files came around. I didn't even own Doctor Who DVDs or VHS, at least before 2008, because normally whenever any episodes come on screen, it's just like, oh, gotta go downstairs and watch it, even though there are like episodes that I've already seen, and just watch them over and over again. So then when DVD files came around, starting with issue 1, Rose and the End of the World, we picked it up in a magazine shop in Morpeth. My mum decided to look at a few pages. Then she showed me the page of 10 Faces of the Doctor, because Tennant was the current Doctor at the time. And then she was like, those are all the Doctors. And the fact that they've numbered them, that all makes sense to me now. And that's when I realised, so there were Doctors before Chris, and so that's why Tennant was referred as the... that makes sense now. And I recognised Tom Baker, sort of recognised John Pertwee, and Peter Davidson's clothes, but not the face, because he definitely has aged since almost 2 decades since his last appearance. And end up collecting a few issues weekly. Another thing to add is that little leaflet inside the DVD is where I learned that there is a Doctor Who the movie, the one that's starring Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor. So yeah, that's how I found out about the movie with the 8th Doctor. So then I ended up watching the classic era, and I absolutely loved them. So the first episode I watched properly was either Genesis of the Daleks or The 5 Doctors. And admittedly, I watched the 5 Doctors, the YouTube poop version, before I watched the proper episode. So it was a very strange experience for me. And yeah, that was the first classic Doctor Who that I've got. It came with issue, I think it was issue 4 with the Father's Day on there. Watched it, and I absolutely loved it. And first of those DVDs that I got was Genesis of the Daleks, which I just so happened to have it on my brother Alex's birthday, where he was turning 5 years old. So then I put it on and watching it and enjoyed it. So then after issue 28 with Journey's End and the Next Doctor, I was expecting it to be Planet of the Dead and the Waters of Mars on issue 29, but nope. Remembrance of the Daleks was the first one, and I remembered watching clips of that story before I got the DVD, and then ended up watching it and absolutely loved it. The next one came along was The 3 Doctors, Genesis of the Daleks, the DVD file version, then Earthshock, and then so on and so forth. But then around Christmas, 2010? I ended up getting more of the BBC DVD versions. After Genesis of the Daleks, the next 3 I have was The War Machines, which I think that's the first Hartnell story that I've watched. The Brain of Morbius, and Forward to Doomsday. And I've been collecting Doctor Who DVDs since. Here we are, the Doctor Who collection, as you can see. There's a little ice warrior from Cold War in a space station from Resurrection of the Daleks. Well, the cardboard of it. There's the TARDIS from Matt Smith's era from Series 5 to first part of 7, as you can see. I've had a lot of this for years, which is why it's collecting a little bit of a cobweb and a bit of dust. There's a little TARDIS that 11th Doctor and a human TARDIS built in The Doctor's Wife. And there's that elevator from The Impossible Planet. And then we're going down. There's all these DVDs with the Doctors and Sonic Screwdrivers and mini Daleks that a family friend gave me in one of the Christmas. So we've got Hartnell and Troughton with Marvel there for some reason. That's Shoot You Got with Sonic Screwdriver. I had to put that there because of the space on the bottom. Coming down here, with some books on top and some DVDs as well. John Pertwee and Tom Baker. I've also been putting cards on there as well. And that dolly picture that I was given to Peter Davidson, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. And then to the modern era. Sadly, by the time I had the chance to get the John Hurt and Joe Martin, it was getting ridiculously expensive, but I'll get them eventually. So lately, when I've been collecting them, I decide to constantly focus on getting them from the 60s. I've got that War Machine from the Comic-Con, as well as I got some. I absolutely love the Dalek flamethrower. I thought that version of the Dalek looks cool. And that Dalek had a button where it talks, but sadly the battery's dead. And there's all the 60s Cybermen, which I do love those design. It's the unit. And then we've got these because because of the size of the shelf. I had to put some of them on top of here because yeah, they just couldn't fit into the shelf. So that one's David Bradley's first Doctor, right next to Patrick Troughton's second Doctor from the War Games, along with the TARDIS, obviously. The K1 robot, and the heads that came with figure came out back in the 2000s. And there's Star Pote from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Well, the race are called Arcatinian, which I thought were pretty fascinating. The Face of Bow and Werewolf. Yeah, I have some of those for many years, which is why some of them, well, not a lot, well, barely of them, may not be in the best of condition. Then coming down to the 70s, got the unit family there with Tom Baker's head. Well, that came with the one in the red coats, just a swappable head. One with a hat and smile, and one without the hat and doesn't smile. You can never get enough of Daleks. And I have no idea why that Morbius creature is climbing on a mummy and a Vok robot, which is pretty amusing. And then coming into the 80s, which I've been slowly collecting them. Tegan came out recently, at the time of recording, along with Destroyed Dalek, well, half destroyed, which I thought it looks pretty cool, seeing what's inside. And I absolutely love Ace figure with Imperial Dalek. I thought that's one of the best figures I've been collecting. And I decided to put 2005s from that side. Yeah, the Space Pig is hiding. Then coming into the late 2000s, the Tennant era, including a little bit of spin-offs like from Torchwood. Yeah, you can safely say it's starting to get pretty crowded, and especially at the bottom. Yeah, it's ridiculously crowded. I had to put Missy that side instead of that side because, well, I just couldn't find any room to put her. And I've tried not to cut anyone off as possible. So, yeah, now you've seen my action figures. And I remembered when the next Doctor came out, where David Morrissey's Doctor says that I'm the Doctor, and also hearing that David Tennant was leaving, I was like... Because I did want Tennant to leave, I wanted him to stay, because he's my favourite, and yeah, and I never wanted him to leave. But then I realised Morrissey wasn't the next Doctor, he was Jackson Lake. It ends up not being the Doctor. And then we had an extra year with a few specials. I was like, well, what's not to like? And I remembered in Doctor Who Confidential that Matt Smith was announced, and yeah, and then when he took over, I was like... But then Series 5 came out, and surprisingly, I absolutely loved the season. I thought it was a fantastic run, and I thought Matt Smith, fantastic Doctor. and absolutely in love with Amy as well. And I was happy to collect figures from Series 5. Plus, I had a friend from school when I was 12 years old who was into that and did a bit of drawings of Doctor Who and got given those cards as well that I've had since 2011. And my God, does anyone remember this? So yeah, I remember collecting some. She used to do that as well, and she gives me the cards that she already got. I'm pretty sad that that they've stopped doing it because I absolutely loved collecting them. They were absolute fun. When I heard about Doctor Who exhibitions, I've always wanted to go there, but then I realised they were miles away from where I live, and they were expensive, and unfortunately by the time we had the chance to do it, they've stopped doing it, and yeah, I was pretty devastated because I've been so wanting to go there. Then hearing David Tennant coming back for 50th anniversary, I could not be any more excited. And also when Billie Piper came back as Rose Tyler, I thought, yep, that's definitely a treat for me there. But at the same time, I was pretty sad that Christopher Eccleston didn't want to return. I was like, oh, that was, yeah. But hey, Tennant came back, so I can't complain. But as for the spin-offs, the first spin-off that I saw was the Sarah Jane Adventures, and the first episode was Eye of the Gorgon Part 2. And I remembered being confused, like, where is the Doctor? But then I realised it's a spin-off. Plus, I did recognise Luke, but I didn't recognise Maria, and I did not recognise Clyde, so I thought, okay. I absolutely loved Sarah Jane Adventures, and whenever I come home from school, the show was on, and I ended up sitting down and watched them. And then there was K9 series as well. One time, I think I had a day off school, or if I can't remember if I was unwell, or if it was a teacher's training day or half term, I can't remember, but it was, yeah, and I remembered K9 series being on all day, and I just end up, well, I can't complain, this makes my day. So then I sat and watched, and then I was so surprised and mind-blown in the wedding of Sarah Jane when David Tennant's Doctor came in saying, stop this wedding now! And also excited that the fact that Matt Smith also showed up in the Sarah Jane Adventures, which was Death of the Doctor, alongside Joe Grant. I thought K9 series was definitely underrated. When I heard about Torchwood, been wanting to watch it, but obviously I wasn't allowed to because the age I was at the time, so my mum was like, no. Even though when I heard Martha Jones was appearing in it, she was like, no, you're too young for that. I was like, damn it. But then eventually I got to watch it back in 2015. Then after we came home from Comic-Con, we grabbed Chinese from Morpeth, and then I watched the first series and absolutely loved it. I thought it was so weird to watch it, like, oh my god, blood and swearing in Doctor Who, and sex as well. So back when I was 11 years old, I got given Doctor Who Top Trumps video game. I remember seeing the shop and I thought, oh, I want this. And I think it was my mum who told me that, oh, you don't want that, this one's not good. And despite her saying it, I was given this. Because I'm a fan, I'm going to give it a play anyway. So then I did, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I was like, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing bad about it, because I absolutely had fun playing the Top Trumps game on this. But, you know, each to their own. Then I briefly played Doctor Who The Adventure Games, The City of the Daleks, but unfortunately the game crashed and I didn't get to play it, so I was pretty devastated about that. The first time I went to Comic-Con meeting the actors was 2014, and that was at the Metro Arena in Newcastle, because I got told that Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann will be there, so I couldn't be any more excited because I've always wanted to meet the actors from the show, always. So I was 15 years old at the time. I was wearing a TARDIS hoodie. At the time, I wasn't too confident wearing costumes outdoors, so that's why I didn't. But also because I didn't know Comic-Con is the place where people wear costumes. Eventually, I was confident enough to wear a costume. Con starting with Christopher Eccleston, then to the 14th Doctor. As a guy I've met a few times at Comic-Con who's a Whovian encouraged me to do that, and I thought, yeah, this is absolute fun. Especially taking selfies with me and other Doctor cosplayers. So I remembered we queued up to meet Sylvester and Paul. As soon as I laid my eyes on them, I was just like, oh my god, am I actually dreaming, or has this actually happened? Those two are here right now. So then I got a photo with those two, and oh man, it was absolutely surreal experience. And I said to Sylvester he was a great Doctor, and he said thank you. I didn't get the chance to say the same to Paul McGann because I think he was too busy focusing on the next people in line, and but at least I eventually did 9 years later. And then in the room where the actors were sitting at the table, I got to meet John Leeson, the voice of K9. I had a great chat with him. And same with Terry Malloy, Davros in the 80s. And Julian Glover, who played Richard the Lionheart in Crusade, although I didn't know about it until he told me that, but I knew him as Count Scarleone in City of Death. They were such a lovely people. And then the next time I went to Comic-Con, which was 2015, I got to meet James Masters, who played Captain John Hart in Torchwood Series 2, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Exit Wounds. And I also got to meet Louise Jameson, aka Leela, Bonnie Langford, Mel, as far as I can remember. Oh, and I've met Gareth David Lloyd, aka Yanto Jones. He stood up to shake my hand and we had a great chat. And then, of course, 2022, got to meet Peter Davidson, the Fifth Doctor, and Sarah Sutton, aka Nessa. And then I ended up doing Comic-Cons since then and made some couple of friends there, which is another great thing about Comic-Cons and stuff. And the rest, as they say, hits history. Plus, Doctor Who's a show got me into acting, as it's something I love doing for a living. Plus a bit of filmmaking as well, and media. Plus the school got me into media as well. And I have to say, I am definitely proud to be a Whovian. Actors like David Tennant and Tom Baker and John Pertwee, etc. They are easily my inspirational actors. So yeah, it's been quite a journey of my life of Doctor Who. And that's all I could say off the top of my head. So I hope you enjoy this video and the story I've just given you. So thanks for watching, people. Feel free to tell me about your story, how you got into Doctor Who on the comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Sam Birkinshaw YouTube channel.